You ever wake up to the sound of bulldozers rumbling down your street at 7 a.m. and realize your quiet little slice of suburban heaven's about to turn into a war zone? That's exactly how I started my Monday in Willowbrook Estates. I'm standing there in my kitchen clutching a chipped coffee mug, and out on the pristine front lawns comes Hannah Miller, queen bee of the HOA, in her silk bathrobe hair up in curlers, absolutely losing her mind at the guys in hard hats. She's red as a tomato finger, stabbing at the sky, barking at these construction workers who look like they'd rather be anywhere else. But what Hannah and everyone else out there didn't know was those bulldozers. They were there because she set this whole thing in motion herself, and the show was about to get a lot bigger. So let me back up a second. Name's Carl Lee, retired civil engineer, 3 years into what was supposed to be the peaceful chapter of my life. 30 years designing bridges, wrangling with bureaucrats. I figured I'd earned the right to putter in my garden, read the paper, maybe mess around with some woodworking, enjoy the silence. I picked Willowbrook Estates on purpose, too. Looked neat lawns, trim folks, seemed friendly enough. Just the right amount of neighborly but not nosy. I never figured I'd end up on the front lines of a full-blown HOA revolution. But if you've ever tangled with the wrong person, you know sometimes it just takes a spark. The trouble showed up about 6 months after I moved in. I built myself a modest little workshop out back, nothing extravagant. 12 by 6 city permits in order, matched the house paint, brought in pros for every bit of it. Next thing I know, I've got Hannah Miller on my stoop, clipboard in hand, suit sharp enough to cut glass, and this looked like she's about to write me up for crimes against humanity. She says my workshop's breaking 7 separate HOA covenants. 3 square feet too big, color not on the palette roof pitch. Not right. On and on. I show her my permits, my plans, photos of similar sheds on half the block. She just shakes her head and says, "Rules are rules, Mr. Lee. If we make exceptions for one, where does it end?" Yeah, I got that speech a lot. You know the type, right? Every week after that, a new violation notice, tear it down or pay up, $50, then $100, then $2. I tried to be reasonable, offered to repaint, adjust the roof, whatever would make it go away. But Hannah wasn't having it. She ran the HOA like her own private kingdom. And every time I thought maybe she'd back off, she doubled down. So I go to my first HOA board meeting, thought maybe if I explained myself, showed the paperwork, someone would listen. It's held in this fluorescent lit room with folding chairs and that stale coffee plus old carpet smell. Hannah's got her little counsel up there all nodding like bobbleheads. I get exactly 3 minutes to plead my case. She tells me straight-faced that the architectural committee unanimously denied my variance. I glance down the table, realize the committee is just the same board sitting in different chairs. No appeals, no compromise, just workshop's gotta go. Now here's where the gloves come off. I started watching. Not just my case, but what Hannah was pulling with everyone else. Johnson's fined for a basketball hoop 6 inches too close to the curb. Patel's cited for roses that, get this, matched ones in Hannah's own front yard. She even went after Mrs. Peterson for a Valentine's Day wreath in March. Week after week, people coughing up fines, all while the improvement fund for the neighborhood kept shrinking. Hannah was running the place like a racket, and nobody seemed able to stop her. But she made one mistake. She thought I was just another retiree she could steamroll. What she didn't know was I'd spent 3 decades navigating government red tape for a living. If there's one thing you learn as an engineer, it's how to find the paperwork that trips up the folks who think they're above the law. So that winter, I parked myself at the county clerk's office and started digging. Development maps, environmental filings, HOA bylaws from when Willowbrook was just a patch of mud. Turns out our covenants were a mishmash. Some houses under strict new rules, others under old ones. But Hannah applied the harshest restrictions to everyone. The best part. The HOA's fine revenue had shot up 400% under her watch, while actual improvements fell off a cliff. Where was the money going? Good question. The statements were a labyrinth of miscellaneous expenses. But the real jackpot, that community pond, Hannah kept jacking up fees for saying it needed special landscaping. According to the original environmental survey, it was a protected wetland. Any changes required state permits. Hannah never bothered to get that my friends is not just an HOA violation. That's potential felony territory. I spent a month photographing the site, checking plant species, collecting paperwork, everything needed to nail her for unauthorized environmental work. But I wanted to give her one last out. At the next board meeting, I offered a truce drop, the workshop drama. I'll fix anything that's actually a problem. We all move on. She slammed the door in my face, announced if I didn't tear it down, she'd hire demo crews, bill me, and keep piling on fines. So I played my ace. I filed complaints with the state environmental agency, with the Attorney General's office about her finances, even sent a proposal to the governor's team for a sustainable housing pilot on land right next to Willowbrook, technically outside HOA reach. Thanks to a few favors from my old engineering days, permits and approvals started rolling in, state backing, full green light press coverage, and Hannah, she never saw it coming. Come June, I walk into the board meeting, announce to a stunned crowd that the state's breaking ground on a housing complex, 12 units model for green building right next door. Hannah turns the color of a stop sign. She vows the HOA will fight it sues. The state tries to whip up the neighborhood into a frenzy. I just smile and tell her, "You want to pick this fight? You're up against the governor now. You sure about that?" Fast forward to D-Day, 7 a.m. Here come the bulldozers, the press vans, and right on cue, Governor Martinez steps out of a black sedan with a stack of state permits. Hannah, still in her bathrobe, charges the lead operator, grabs his paperwork, and starts ranting about illegal construction. The guy just shrugs and points to the official signatures, cameras rolling, neighbors gawking. Then the governor himself crosses over, shakes my hand, and thanks me for my commitment to responsible community development. Hannah's jaw nearly hit the sidewalk. The twist. While the news crews film her meltdown, I hand the governor my dossier photos, environmental reports, everything. He calls over his environmental team, reviews the evidence, and announces on the spot, full investigation, heavy fines coming, possible criminal charges for unauthorized work. Hannah tries to argue, but the governor cuts her off. State law trumps HOA nonsense, especially when public good's on the line. Within hours, it's all unraveling. State investigators uncover not just the wetland mess, but years of unauthorized stormwater work and missing reserve funds. The Attorney General drops the hammer: embezzlement, fraud, you name it. Turns out Hannah's been signing contracts with her own relatives, cutting deals to sell green space to developers, all while bullying homeowners over lawn decorations. Videos of her screaming in curlers go viral. One neighbor starts a meme page, and by noon, she's become the face of HOA corruption across the state. By the end of the week, board members are dropping like flies. Residents are demanding their money back. And the HOA's called an emergency meeting to freeze all enforcement. I walk in, 50 angry homeowners behind me, and lay it out. Here's how she broke the rules. Here's how you can fight back. Folks start swapping their own horror stories. Turns out almost everybody had been targeted at some point. There's a real sense that for once maybe things will change. Within 60 days, new board elections, this time with real transparency and background checks. All those bogus fines get refunded, the rules get rewritten, and my little workshop stands tall in the backyard, officially in compliance. Meanwhile, Hannah faces a mountain of legal bills, environmental fines topping $500,000, and criminal charges for theft and fraud. She has to sell her house just to pay restitution and is banned for life from running any HOA. Can't say I'll miss her. 6 months on Willowbrook Estates actually feels like a community again. The environmental restoration made the pond more beautiful than ever. The new housing project's a source of pride, and the HOA runs like a real democracy instead of a private fiefdom. I get calls from reporters, from homeowners in other towns, folks using my playbook to stand up to their own neighborhood tyrants. Guess word gets around. Now, sitting in my workshop, sawdust in the air, birds out the window, I think back on how close I came to just rolling over, paying the fines, letting the bully win. But if there's one thing I learned, it's that sometimes the only way to beat a rigged system is to understand it better than the people running it. Knowledge, persistence, a willingness to call in some big guns sometimes, that's all it takes to turn the tables. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back the way I did, or should I have let it go for the sake of peace and quiet? Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare or a petty tyrant who needed a taste of their own medicine? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's see how common this really is. And if you think more folks should hear about what can happen when you stand up to abuse of power, go ahead and share this story. Who knows, might be just the spark someone else needs.